types of grays. Based on their size, you'd think that they were the same species. You could call them little Chewbaccas. But don't make the mistake of thinking that because they're small in stature, that they don't have strength.
Size has no matter.
Absolutely. They can lift up a 6,000-pound vehicle. They will go ahead and communicate with you through what we refer to it as thought transfer. A lot of people, well, it's telepathy. Well, no matter what you call it, it's a transfer of thought from their mind to your mind.
Today on Cosmic Disclosure, we have Sergeant Clifford Stone. We're going to be going over ET species. Sergeant, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be here.
You've been quoted over the years saying there's over 57 types of ET species. Can you elaborate on that?
Certainly. A lot of people will criticize me and say, you know, if you could say 10 or 12, we could believe you more. Well, you know, what do they want? A fantasy or the truth? The truth is, when I was in the military, there was some medical personnel who would have to provide first aid for our visitors if we got there and there was some that were still alive and injured. In order to accomplish that tasking, because a lot of the first aid we do wouldn't be the same for them, they had a book. That book was to tell how to do certain first aid for certain injuries on our visitors, and they had to know what to do for each and every species. That book listed 57 different species. They were affectionately known. They can laugh if they want to. We affectionately called them Heinz 57. And at that time, that was one of the things that they had to say about Heinz products. So we went ahead, we had that, and I wasn't supposed to see it. There was no need for me to know about it. But one person who was an officer, and I'm going to say right off the bat, I don't know for sure, but he was a doctor. We had two medics, and they kind of took me under their wing because they knew I was having problems with what I was doing. And they went ahead and said, okay, look, we're not really trying to do anything bad to them. Should we just leave them here to die? Well, we try not to do that. And there are various species which we are well aware of that you know. You may not know how many, but to date, this is what we have cataloged. And they said, you can look at it here, but we can't let you have a copy. We can't let you take it with you. You can read it, but only here. If we have other higher ranking personnel show up, sometimes these people aren't real nice and we have to take the book back from you and act like you've never seen it. And they did this quite a few times because I'd try to go through picture and I tried to get in my mind how all 57 looked. Out of that 57, I had access to maybe 6, 7 different species. The one species that they had a question mark about was the one species that was following me throughout my life, whom I still have contact to this very day.
What's the name of this person?
Well, the entity that chose me to follow throughout my life, I know him as Corona, and he always told me Corona with a K.
Where's he from?
He's from a planet that's approximately 100 light years from planet Earth. That's why when you hear me talk about traversable wormholes, whether you're using negative matter or antimatter, because they do make a difference in going through a traversable wormhole. If they're using antimatter, in real time, it's 1 hour and 40 minutes to get from there to here. That's why when I'm using it to try to show distance, I use his world to do that, because that's something that I have a greater understanding of with his help. The one thing that I ran into a problem with, he would not go into too much detail about negative matter. When I found out how much greater negative matter was, I was shocked. But he's one. There are other species. We have 3 types of grays. 2 of them are roughly about 3.5 feet tall. Their facial features are a little different. The position of their ears and the shape of their ears are a little different. But if you're looking at them, based on their size, you'd think that they were the same species. They're not. They are 2 different identical species. The third one is roughly 4 foot tall and looks very similar, only they are a lighter gray than the other two.
Now, is that one species or is that 3 different species?
That's 3 different species.
But they look similar.
They look similar.
Okay.
There's another one that looks kind of human, but here again, maybe 5 foot tall. The ears are a little different, the nose is a little different, but they have like oriental features.
It's really just small little things.
Little
like
details.
The details. And the same thing we utilize in the field with extraterrestrials. They're just off, sometimes just a little bit different.
And another race was the ones that are about maybe 3.5, 4 foot tall, who are covered with hair. You call them the hairy guy in Star Wars. What was his name?
Oh, Chewbacca.
You could call them little Chewbaccas. But don't make the mistake of thinking that because they're small in stature, that they don't have strength.
Size has no matter.
Absolutely, they can lift up a 6,000-pound vehicle. There was an abduction that took place somewhere in South America, which they were involved in because they were very concerned about the radiation still in the atmosphere right now from nuclear tests that happened 50, 60, 70 years ago. So there was an abduction that took place there, and of course that took place there because the guy thought they're small. He'd just go pick one up, bring it back to the car, and when he went to pick one up, the one that he's trying to pick up picked him up and threw him very close to his car, maybe 10 or 15 feet. He didn't go back for a second try of picking him up. Creatures, that's another species. Another one is just like, and I mean, you see them, it kind of blows your mind. You're thinking, well, this is a ghost, and these are the ones that are pure energy, and they can take on humanoid form. A lot of times they'll go ahead and it'll be just like a plasmic cloud of some sort. And the ones I've seen were bright white, had an luminosity from within, but from that they could go on, take it on human form. They will go ahead and communicate with you through what we refer to it as thought transfer. A lot of people, well, it's telepathy. Well, no matter what you call it, it's a transfer of thought from their mind to your mind.
In addition to all these different species, people talk about reptoids and insectoids. Have you ever had experience with that?
Actually, if you take a close look at Corona, and he will tell you in a joking way, I am not a lizard, I am not a lizard. He looks like a reptile.
It does have that kind of look, like a multifaceted being.
And he has, you have to look very closely, like scales, but very faint texture, but looking like scales. Insect-like, yes, they have some like that. One that looks very much like, and I hate to even bring this out because some people, and which is really why I avoid even talking about the different species. Yeah, they have one species that looks very much like a praying mantis, even with the arm. But you know what? Be very careful because they don't have like the tentacles like on the arms that the praying mantis has.
Did it have digits?
They had digits. They were ambidextrous like this. Mm. So the whole situation is, yeah, they have that. A lot of them don't have, there are plenty of them that just have 3 fingers and an opposing thumb, for lack of a better term.
What about the intelligence level, Sarge, of these species? Are they greater than us, lower than us? What's kind of the levels out there in the universe?
They can all communicate with one another, but the levels of technological capabilities, they differ.
Why did he choose you at such an early age? And are you possibly part of his lineage?
They start a process like when I was 4 years old, I was seeing what we called shadow people in my bedroom. And this scared me. Then I had other experiences, and I'd always associate these with supernatural events like ghosts. Then I got to the point where I could foretell things. And I got concerned about that because I had a religious upbringing, and to me, these were things that were evil. Eventually, he came back to me as a little boy, and he says, you know, I'm going to be following you throughout your life. This is the way my species and other species learn about the way you people live on this planet. Your various cultures, your likes, your dislikes, your beliefs, your things, the things that you don't believe in, your fantasies, your hopes, your dreams. We want to know all about your species. And, you know, there's no way to do it other than to do it this way. We can't come here and say, take us to your leader, because you have many leaders on this planet, and none are exactly the same. So we have to do this. And you have been chosen through a select process, a very selective process, to have me follow you throughout life. Actually, the compassion is the one thing they look for in everyone, because each and every person they follow, they want that compassion to be there.
Is Corona still in contact with you today?
Yes, and like I said, he'll be in contact with me till the day I die.
The day you die.
Now, even if I don't see him, he's monitoring me on a daily basis. We have interaction from time to time, but he is the one that chooses when that happens. But the whole situation is, as far as the number of people out there, I sincerely believe and feel that number could go into the thousands.
You mean people that are aware of like similar things that
have been chosen by them to be followed, because the whole situation is they don't want just my perspective and viewpoint on what the United States is like. They want to have it from the viewpoint and perspective of many people.
Many people from around the world, and it doesn't matter, you know, who you are. It's just they're choosing you based off of compassion and love.
Absolutely. And most people are not going to be talking about this. And when the military has to search, or the governments have to search to find these people, because they have to have these people if they're going to have any relationship with our visitors.
Sarge, that was a fascinating story. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.